Came from a reasonably good sporting family. Father was he played cricket and football, as we all did in those days. But it all started at, I've been a Woodville person all my life, and started at Woodville Primary and progressed into the high school. But Woodville Primary was one of those places that had a lot of good footballers in those days, 12-year-olds. But we'd never had a grassed oval, so we used to kick the ball around on the dirt. And a few of us used to get into trouble because we'd try kicking with our left foot and all this stuff in those early days. Eventually it sort of paid off in a way. But growing up has always been, sport has always been in my mind, you know. Lived in the Port Adelaide district, down at Woodville, by one street. I was actually a West Torrens follower, but used to go to a lot of the Port games later in life, in my teens and that, because schoolmates all barracked for Port, so we used to go and watch Port Adelaide. But I was a West Torrens supporter.
So how did you end up at Woodville?
Well, Woodville had a amateur league side for years, a very old team actually, and I played in their Colts side. Incidentally, there were players like Freddie Bills played in that side too. We went top that year. And then in 1959, I think it was, when Woodville and Central Districts came into the second 18s competition, I decided I'd have a go at the senior Colts. I was about to turn 18 and played in the senior Colts, and then just stayed with Woodville all the time. Reserves, Harold McDonald from Port Adelaide he was the coach at the time. We also we recruited Brian Caldwell and Brian Johnston from Port Adelaide, and in that, was it the second year that they were in there, I progressed up to the A-grade side, which it was then, and Harold McDonald and Lloyd Zucker was the assistant coach. So we had a influx of Port Adelaide people for some time, but we all got on pretty well together. So after that, there was another Port Adelaide player came in, Peter Obst. He coached. He was a captain coach. I believe it was a 4-year thing. They extended it to 5 years. Well, 4 years I played in it, and they were definitely going in. There's no doubt about that. They wanted to make 10 teams, and that was one way of doing it. And so I had a couple of offers, but to go elsewhere. But being a Woodville bloke, I thought, well, no, I'll hang around and we'll stay here. First year I played, I was actually runner-up to North Adelaide chap. Rover, can't remember his name, and then in the next 2 years I won it, and the second year Gary Window from Central was runner-up, and he won it the next year, and I was runner-up. And then the year after that we both went into the league. That never sort of reared its head before, and I was coaching Grange Cricket Club. And the lad that's the historian down there came up to me one day and said that. And I thought, well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I thought Gary Window also was, but he did actually, he was acting captain on the first day because Ken Eustace was injured. But yeah, so it's sort of a unique thing, I suppose. Well, I think we were sort of hyped a bit, you know. We played North Adelaide out at Prospect, which was not the easiest of games to start with, but yeah, I thought we did pretty well, but I think it was about a 7-goal difference at the end. But it was a bit of a thrill playing against these players like Don Linder and company out there, and but I think, you know, only a couple of games in and you sort of got into the mix and, yeah, felt at home. Bob Perry was vice-captain. He came from Moorabbin for that and played quite a few seasons with us, and captain coached our B grade, and he won a McGarry medal in the seconds. Our ruck was Fred Hench, Trevor Hoffman. David Christie was a rover. Yeah. I'd never had any real superstitions or anything like that. The old man had polished the boots up and make sure they were nice and shiny for me. And you rock up to the game halfway through the seconds game, or the game that was on before, and well, I suppose that was about it. It wasn't too drastic. After the game, the opposition side would usually hang around and we'd all meet up over in the social club, you know. That sort of waned after a few years, and I don't think anyone meets up these days. They all go back to their own clubs. But Sunday was sort of a run out any sore spots and stuff like that. And then afterwards, a game of darts or something in the bar with the boys, with the training on 2 nights. The other 2 nights, I used to go for a run on a Wednesday night in between or something like that, maybe a Friday, just to jog around the streets and get yourself ready for the next week. Well, my first opponent was Freddie Block, played centre for North Adelaide, and 65, Barry Robran came into the thing, and Robert Day, he was another one I used to stand from West Adelaide. But John Cale, well, you did feel confident after a while. You'd sort of study him. You'd have to know who you were playing on and gear like that, so you'd study him, and used to say Jack could never kick with his right foot, so you had to be pretty careful there. Yeah, that's after you got to know the person on paper, you sort of had some confidence that, you know, you could go with him or even beat him on the day. So, and Jack wasn't well, talking of Cale, he you'd pick him out as being a ground player, a lot better ground player than a high mark and stuff like that. So these are the things you would stick in your head, and, you know, you'd go out with a bit of confidence, yeah. Played in the last carnival down in Hobart in '66, and broke my shoulder against the Vicks. I missed half a season after that. Got steamrolled by big John Schultz. And that was the day that we knocked them over pretty easily, that day too. But I played about 7 or 8 interstate games, I think. 2 coaches, Foss Williams was the first one, and Neil Curley was the other one. And 2 different people with probably the same sort of ideas. They were both tough and rough and tough at the ball. But I can always remember one, I suppose I can tell this story, the Adelaide Oval game against Victoria, the first one played in '65. Foster Williams was coach, and half time we sort of going easy around the place, and then he got us all into Adelaide Oval rooms then were pretty small, and there was a room on the side that they used to keep gear in, footballs and all that stuff. So he crammed 22 of us, or 20 of us, into there with himself and one other, Bob McLean. He was the team manager. And Foster started going off at us all. And I can remember Bob McLean putting his hand on Foster's shoulder, and he was almost foaming at the mouth at the time. He wasn't very happy with the team, the way it was going. But yeah, Bob McLean had to quieten him down, and anyway, we all went out into the main room then. But I think he just wanted to keep it as quiet as he could inside this little room. But I'll never forget that one. That was my first interstate game. I could never work out, really. You know, we were coached fairly well. Noel Teasdale was coached for 4 years or 5 years, 4 years, I think. And we had like Malcolm Blight and Ray Huppets, and then all come into the side. Ralph Sewer played then, John Cummins, plenty of them, you know, that would have probably made any team in the league in those days, but could never sort of put the finger on the button that, you know, how come we had these players that you couldn't sort of, couldn't bring it to the fore. He was in the, playing in the, might have been the junior cops. And they were playing the grand final out at Norwood Oval one day, this day, and we all went along to have a look. And Blighty used to play on the ball, and can remember him grabbing the ball in the back pocket and taking off around the boundary, around the clock side. And he probably bounced it twice, done in a handball, bounced it another couple of times, came down and kicked. He had to dodge a player in the forward line, so he went onto his left foot and kicked the goal with his left foot. I thought, well, that's a pretty good sight for a player coming up through the grades. Well, he didn't play any seconds football, I don't think. He went straight into the league. Yeah, he was something different. And Ralph Sewer is another one. He could run, you know, he was one of the quicker players around the place. Zip Zap, called him. But no, there were a lot of good players there that really stood out. McKellar went on to play interstate football in Victoria. I had not to go to Victoria, but the chap at West Perth that, or he was their chairman at the time, I got an invitation from them. But I just forget what was happening then. Oh yes, I know what was happening. My wife became pregnant with our first child. That was about 1969. So no, I didn't really want to leave the state. But in those days, like put it these days, there's a different kettle of fish. I think it depends how well off you are and that, but I suppose you could say that Woodville did look after me a bit, and I thought I could give a bit back, so I hung around for another few years. Yeah, my last year playing, I think I earned $730, which now the blokes get for going to the toilet. You know, it's a bit different, but times have changed. But and really, money didn't come into it. I think it was, as you probably find with a lot of players in those days, it was the loyalty that, you know, came to the fore, and that's what we all did. I worked at General Motors for 38 and a half years. We ended up out at Elizabeth. It started down at Woodville. Used to ride my bike to work. So, yeah, it was, wasn't easy, because in those days, if you wanted any time off, you had to apply for it, and it was time off without pay. So, yes, it was wasn't easy, but I don't suppose today's jobs are easy either with the players. Was Woodville rescuing West Torrens, or was West Torrens rescuing Woodville? You know, there was a lot of to and fro there, but no, I think you had to accept it. I mean, it was going to happen, and actually it happened for the good, I think, too, of football. Woodville West Torrens have probably had one of the highest numbers of people making it in the league now, the AFL. They get a lot of recruits out of there, out of Woodville. Whether it's the football, the way it's played now, it tends to turn into a bit of a rugby type scrum at times, but I don't mind watching it. I'd still barrack for the Crows and just stuff like that, but yeah, no, it's a different world now. At high school, when I started there, Jerry Phillips, he was a sports teacher. And this particular day, just after we started, I turned up there with a tennis racket that I got for Christmas. And he said, "What are you doing with that?" I said, "I'm going to go out and try out with the tennis team." And he said, "No, you're not." He said, "You're going to play cricket." I thought, "Oh, you know." There's evidently somebody had told him that when I was at primary school, you know, I was captain of the team there. We only used to play a couple of local teams. And so he sort of started me off on the cricket, and went through the schoolboys, through the grades at Woodville, and I made the state cricket squad in about 64, 65, but football sort of intermingled, or cricket intermingled with football at that time. And it was 70, 71, 72, I think, I made the state side and did an Eastern States tour, which my first game there was a bit of an experience too. That we played New South Wales at Adelaide Oval, and when it was my turn to bat, I went in to face Jeff Thompson. So that was a bit of a harrowing experience. But first ball he bowled at my head, and I was a bit of a hooker, so I tried to hook him and caught the bottom edge, and a guy at leg slip caught it. And I looked back, and the umpire had his hand out. It was a no ball. I ended up making 57 that day, so that was all right.